Stop waiting for the perfect time. Have you ever told yourself, I'll start when the timing is right? Maybe you've thought, I'll launch my business once I have more money, or I'll chase my dream after I learn a little more. If this sounds familiar, let me tell you something important. The perfect time doesn't exist. Waiting for the stars to align is one of the biggest reasons why people never succeed. And here's the truth. Successful people don't wait for conditions to be perfect. They act and then they adjust along the way. Think about it like planting a tree. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time? It's today. If you keep waiting for the weather, the soil, and every condition to be ideal, you'll never put that seed in the ground. And by the time you realize it, years will pass and you'll have nothing to show for it. Most people stay stuck in this trap. They tell themselves, I'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes next year. It's a never-ending cycle of delay. That's why the biggest difference between people who win and people who fail is imperfect action. Winners take action even when it feels messy, uncomfortable, and uncertain. Let me give you an example. Think about every successful entrepreneur you admire. Did they have everything figured out when they started? Absolutely not. Steve Jobs started Apple in a garage. Jeff Bezos started Amazon by shipping books from his basement. They didn't wait for the perfect business plan or the perfect environment. They simply started. And by starting, they created momentum, and that momentum led to opportunities. Momentum is powerful. Once you take the first step, the second step becomes easier. And with every step, your confidence grows. But here's the secret. None of that momentum happens if you sit back waiting for things to be just right. Now, let's flip the script. Instead of waiting for the perfect time, adopt the mindset of start now, perfect later. Maybe you don't have enough money to launch your big idea. Start with a small version of it. Maybe you don't feel 100% ready to speak in public. Do it anyway and learn from the experience. Every single step forward builds your skill, your confidence, and your ability to succeed. Another thing to remember is that fear often disguises itself as preparation. We tell ourselves, I need more time to prepare. But deep down, it's fear talking. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of not being good enough. If you let fear control you, you'll wait your entire life. And one day you'll look back with regret, wondering what could have been. The reality is this: you'll never feel fully ready. And that's okay. Readiness is built through action, not before it. You become ready by doing, not by waiting. So here's my challenge to you. Stop waiting. Take one small step today toward your goal. Send that email. Record that video. Start that business plan. Apply for that opportunity. Whatever it is, just move. Because even if you fail, you'll learn something that brings you closer to success. The people who change the world aren't the ones who wait. They're the ones who act, even when it feels uncomfortable. They're the ones who are willing to look foolish in the beginning, so they can be great in the end. Remember this: perfection is an illusion. Progress is real. You don't need the perfect time. You need to create time. You don't need everything to be certain. You need the courage to begin, so stop waiting for the perfect time. It will never come. Start now. Take action. Create your own momentum, because 5 years from now, you'll either be proud you started today, or you'll wish you had. The choice is yours. Stop comparing yourself to others. One of the biggest thieves of success is comparison. In today's world, it has become easier than ever to compare yourself to others. You scroll through Instagram, YouTube, or LinkedIn, and all you see are people showing off their achievements. The dream car, the luxury vacations, the perfect business launch. And immediately you start questioning yourself. Why am I not there yet? Why am I so far behind? Let me tell you this truth right now. Comparison is poison. It distracts you from your journey, kills your motivation, and makes you feel like you're not good enough, even when you're making progress. Here's the reality. What you see online, or even in real life, is only the highlight reel. People rarely show you their failures, their sleepless nights, or the hundreds of times they fell flat on their face before achieving that overnight success. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's edited version of their life. And that's not fair to you. Think about it. When you were in school, some people learned math quickly while others took time. Some excelled in sports while others excelled in art. But in the end, every single person had strengths and weaknesses. Life works the same way. Your timeline is not supposed to look like someone else's. When you compare yourself to others, you're playing a losing game. Why? Because there will always be someone richer, smarter, more experienced, or more successful than you. And if you base your self-worth on keeping up, you'll always feel behind. That mindset keeps people stuck, hustling not for their own growth, but just to prove they're not less than someone else. Now let me flip this perspective. Instead of comparing yourself to others, compare yourself to who you were yesterday. That's the only fair competition. Ask yourself, am I growing? Am I learning? Am I one step closer to my goals than I was a week ago? If the answer is yes, then you're winning. Let me share an example. There are athletes who train for years, not to beat the world record, but simply to beat their personal record. They know that success is built by constant improvement, not by constant comparison. And often, that mindset leads them to greatness, because they stayed focused on their lane instead of being distracted by others. Comparison also steals joy. Imagine you finally buy your first car, something you've been saving for months. At first you're excited, but then you see someone with a more expensive car, and suddenly your achievement feels small. Did your car lose its value? No. The only thing that changed was your perspective. You allowed someone else's life to dictate how you feel about your own. So how do you stop this toxic habit? First, practice gratitude. Every time you feel envy, list 3 things you're grateful for. Gratitude shifts your focus from what you lack to what you already have. Second, control your environment. If certain social media accounts make you feel small, unfollow them. Protect your mental space like you would protect your home. And third, set your own definition of success. Maybe for you, success isn't a Lamborghini or a mansion. Maybe it's freedom, peace of mind, and doing work you love. Own that. The truth is, the people you're comparing yourself to are also comparing themselves to someone else. It never ends. That's why you need to step out of the game altogether. Because the only person you need to be better than is the person you were yesterday. Remember this, comparison will keep you stuck, but focus will set you free. When you stop chasing someone else's life, you free up energy to build your own. And when you build your own path with focus, consistency, and patience, success will follow. So from today, make a decision. Stop comparing yourself to others. Stay in your lane, compete with yourself, and watch how your confidence, happiness, and progress multiply. Stop seeking everyone's approval. Let me ask you a question. How many times have you stopped yourself from doing something important because you were worried about what other people might think? Maybe you wanted to start a YouTube channel, launch a business, or share your ideas with the world, but the fear of judgment held you back. You thought, what if they laugh at me? What if they criticize me? What if they don't like me? Here's the hard truth. The need for approval is one of the biggest barriers to success. If you live your life trying to please everyone, you will end up pleasing no one and losing yourself in the process. Think about this. No matter what you do, there will always be someone who disapproves. If you play it safe, they'll call you weak. If you take risks, they'll call you reckless. If you're quiet, they'll say you're boring. If you speak up, they'll say you're arrogant. You simply can't win when your self-worth depends on other people's opinions. Here's something important to understand. People's judgments often have less to do with you and more to do with them. Their criticism comes from their own insecurities, fears, or limited perspectives. If someone tells you your dream is impossible, what they're really saying is, I don't believe I could do it. But that doesn't mean you can't. The moment you let go of needing approval is the moment you gain freedom. Freedom to create, freedom to take risks, freedom to live life on your own terms. And that freedom is where true success begins. Look at history. Every great leader, innovator, or entrepreneur faced massive disapproval at the start. When the Wright brothers wanted to fly, people called them crazy. When Elon Musk said he wanted to send rockets to space, people laughed at him. When Oprah started her career, she was told she wasn't fit for television. Imagine if they had listened. The world would be very different today. Now let's get practical. How do you stop seeking approval? First, realize that you don't need permission to chase your goals. You don't need a green light from your family, your friends, or your co-workers. The only approval you need is your own. Second, build confidence through action. The more you act on your goals, the less you'll care about outside opinions. Confidence isn't something you wait to feel. It's something you build by doing. Third, remind yourself of this truth. People's opinions don't pay your bills, and they don't build your dreams. At the end of the day, you are the one who lives with the results of your choices. So why let someone else's opinion dictate your life? Think about how much time and energy people waste trying to look acceptable. They hide their true selves, follow trends they don't like, or stay in jobs they hate. all for approval that may never even come. And even if it does, it's temporary. People's approval is like quicksand. It shifts constantly. What they admire today, they may criticize tomorrow. If you build your identity on that shaky ground, you'll always feel unstable. But when you build your identity on your values, your vision, and your goals, you become unshakable. You no longer need external validation because you already know your worth. That's real power. Here's my challenge for you. The next time you catch yourself hesitating because of what others might think, stop and ask, will their opinion matter in 5 years? Or will my decision matter more? Most of the time, the answer will be clear. Your decision, your action, and your courage will always matter more. Remember this. Approval is optional, but regret is permanent. If you keep chasing approval, you'll end up living someone else's life. But if you have the courage to approve of yourself, you'll finally live the life you were meant to live. So stop seeking everyone's approval. Seek your own. Believe in your vision. Trust your path. And watch how the world eventually respects the person who was brave enough to stop asking for permission. Stop fearing failure. Just the word itself makes most people nervous. From childhood, we've been taught to avoid it at all costs. In school, failing a test meant shame. At work, failing a project meant embarrassment. In life, failing at a dream often feels like proof that we're not good enough. But here's the reality. Fear of failure is the single biggest enemy of success. Let me explain. Failure isn't the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. Every person who has achieved greatness has failed. Not once, not twice, but hundreds of times. What separates them from the rest isn't luck or talent. It's their ability to face failure without fear and learn from it. Think about Thomas Edison, the man who invented the light bulb. He failed more than 1,000 times before he got it right. Someone once asked him, "How did you deal with so many failures?" And he said, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. I found 1,000 ways that didn't work." That mindset is the difference between giving up and pushing forward until you win. Here's the problem with fearing failure. When you fear it, you avoid taking risks. You avoid trying new things. You avoid stepping outside your comfort zone. And what happens when you avoid all of that? You stay stuck in the same place, safe maybe, but unfulfilled and far from your potential. Fear of failure makes people settle for less. They don't start that business because they might lose money. They don't pursue that relationship because they might get rejected. They don't create that YouTube channel because they might get judged. But here's the brutal truth. By avoiding failure, they guarantee failure. Because doing nothing, playing it safe, is the biggest failure of all. Now, let's flip this. Imagine if you saw failure not as the end, but as feedback. Every time you fail, you learn what doesn't work. You gather information. You sharpen your strategy. You grow stronger. Failure becomes a stepping stone, not a tombstone. Here's how you can reframe it. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" Ask, "What will I learn if I fail?" Because every failure teaches you something success never could. Failure builds resilience. It builds creativity. It builds courage. And those are the exact qualities you need to succeed long-term. Let's take entrepreneurs as an example. Most of the biggest business empires were built after multiple failures. Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, the very company he created. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. J.K. Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon. If they had let failure stop them, the world would never have seen their genius. So how do you overcome fear of failure in your own life? Step 1. Redefine failure. Stop seeing it as a reflection of your worth and start seeing it as part of the process. Failure doesn't mean you're not capable. It means you're learning. Step 2. Take small risks regularly. The more you expose yourself to possible failure, the less power it has over you. Think of it like exercise. The more you practice, the stronger your risk-taking muscle becomes. Step 3. Detach from perfection. Many people fear failure because they think everything has to be flawless. But perfection is an illusion. Progress matters more than perfection. Done is better than perfect. And step 4. Focus on the long game. In the moment, failure feels painful. But when you zoom out and see your life as a journey, you realize that every setback is just a chapter, not the whole story. I want you to imagine this. 10 years from now, do you want to look back and say, "I could have tried, but I was too afraid"? Or do you want to say, "I gave it everything, I failed 100 times, but I finally made it"? Which story do you want your life to tell? Here's the ultimate truth. Failure doesn't break you, fear does. The people who succeed aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who refuse to quit, no matter how many times they fall. So stop fearing failure. Embrace it, use it, learn from it, because every failure brings you one step closer to the success you're chasing. Speech script. Stop multitasking. We live in a world that praises the hustle, glorifies busyness, and celebrates the idea of doing 10 things at once. Multitasking has become a badge of honor. People brag about how they can answer emails, jump on calls, scroll social media, and plan their future all at the same time. But here's the hard truth. Multitasking is not making you more productive. It's destroying your focus, lowering your quality of work, and silently killing your success. Think about this. Your brain isn't wired to truly focus on more than one complex task at once. Science proves it. What we call multitasking is actually just rapid task switching. Your brain is bouncing back and forth, burning energy, wasting time, and leaving you drained. The result? You don't get more done. You just get more tired, more stressed, and less effective. Let's be brutally honest. Multitasking feels good in the moment because it tricks you into thinking you're being productive. You feel busy. You feel like you're accomplishing a lot, but in reality, you're only scratching the surface of each task, never diving deep enough to produce meaningful results. It's like running on a treadmill. You're moving, but you're not going anywhere. Successful people understand this. They don't spread their attention thin. They go deep, not wide. They commit to one thing at a time and give it their full energy, their full attention, their full presence. And because of that, they produce results that stand out in a world full of half-finished projects and distracted minds. Here's why you need to stop multitasking if you want to succeed. First, multitasking kills quality. When you split your attention, mistakes happen. You forget details. You miss opportunities. You end up redoing work that could have been done right the first time if you had focused. Second, multitasking increases stress. That constant switching forces your brain into overdrive. You feel anxious, restless, and mentally exhausted, even when you've barely moved physically. You're draining yourself not because you're working too hard, but because you're working the wrong way. Third, multitasking destroys creativity. Great ideas come from deep focus, from giving your brain space to explore and connect dots. But if your attention is scattered across 10 tasks, you don't give yourself that mental space. You end up reacting to life instead of creating it. Now let me give you a simple truth. Focus is the new superpower. In a distracted world, the ability to sit down, shut everything else out, and give one task your complete attention is rare. And because it's rare, it's insanely valuable. The person who can focus wins, period. So how do you break free from the trap of multitasking? Step 1. Prioritize ruthlessly. Ask yourself, what is the one thing that, if I do it today, will move me closer to my goals? That's your priority. Everything else is noise. Step 2. Block your time. Carve out focused time blocks where you work on one thing and one thing only. No phone, no distractions, no jumping around. Just deep, uninterrupted work. Step 3. Embrace the power of no. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Stop scattering your attention across commitments that don't matter. Protect your focus like your life depends on it, because your future does. Step 4. Be fully present. If you're working, work. If you're with family, be with family. If you're resting, rest. The problem isn't that we don't have enough time. It's that we waste the time we have by being half in, half out everywhere. Imagine this. 2 people start the same business. One multitasks all day, juggling social media, emails, calls, and side projects. The other sits down, blocks time, and attacks one priority at a time. Fast forward a year. Who do you think is ahead? The one running in 10 directions or the one sprinting with laser focus in one? Here's the ultimate truth. Success doesn't come from doing more things. It comes from doing the right things with relentless focus. Multitasking is a trap. It spreads you thin. It drains your energy. It delays your success. So stop multitasking. Stop glorifying busyness. Stop pretending that juggling 10 things at once is making you better. Instead, choose focus. Choose depth. Choose mastery. Because in the end, the person who focuses on one thing at a time will always outpace the person who dabbles in everything. Speech script. Stop doubting yourself, self-doubt. It's the quiet killer of dreams. It's that little voice in your head that whispers, "You're not good enough. You don't have what it takes. Who are you to think you can succeed?" And sadly, most people listen to that voice. They let self-doubt run their lives, and as a result, they never reach their true potential. Here's the truth. Self-doubt has destroyed more dreams than failure ever will. Because failure at least teaches you something. Doubt stops you before you even begin. Think about it. How many times have you had a great idea but you never acted on it because you were afraid? Afraid of being judged. Afraid of making mistakes. Afraid of what people would say. And so the idea died before it ever had a chance to live. That's what doubt does. It kills possibility. But here's the paradox. Nobody is born confident. Every successful person you admire, whether it's an entrepreneur, an athlete, or an artist, started with doubts. The difference is they didn't let those doubts decide their future. They felt the fear, but they acted anyway. And through action, they built confidence. That's the key. Confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you create. You don't wake up one day magically believing in yourself. You earn self-belief through repetition, through discipline, through proving to yourself again and again that you are capable. Let me give you an example. Imagine a person who wants to start a YouTube channel but keeps thinking, what if nobody watches? What if I'm not good on camera? What if I fail? That doubt keeps them stuck. Now imagine another person who has the same fears but decides, I'll start anyway. I'll learn as I go. I'll improve along the way. Who do you think will succeed? Not the one who sits in doubt, but the one who takes action in spite of it. Here's how you start overcoming self-doubt. Step 1. Stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison fuels doubt. You see someone who's years ahead and you think, I'll never be like them. But you're comparing your chapter 1 to their chapter 20. Focus on your own path. Step 2. Collect evidence of your wins. Doubt thrives when you forget your past successes. Write down your achievements, no matter how small. Every time you take action and succeed, even in little things, you're proving to yourself that you're capable. Step 3. Redefine failure. The fear of failing feeds doubt. But when you see failure as feedback as a teacher, you stop being afraid. Every setback becomes a stepping stone to growth. Step 4. Take action, even when you don't feel ready. Waiting for confidence before you start is a trap. Action creates clarity. Clarity builds confidence, and confidence destroys doubt. And finally, step 5. Surround yourself with belief. The people around you matter. If you're surrounded by negativity, your doubt will grow. But if you're around people who push you, challenge you, and believe in you, that energy becomes contagious. Here's the powerful truth. Self-doubt never truly disappears. That voice will always whisper. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is this. The successful ones stop listening. They turn down the volume on doubt and turn up the volume on action. I want you to imagine this. Years from now, when you look back on your life, do you want to regret the chances you never took because you doubted yourself? Or do you want to say, I believed in myself enough to try, and because of that, I built a life I'm proud of? The choice is yours. You can let doubt chain you to mediocrity, or you can break free and trust yourself enough to step forward. Remember this, you don't need permission from anyone else to succeed, only from yourself. So stop doubting yourself. Start acting. Because the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the belief that you can actually have it. Grand conclusion, the 6 things you must stop to succeed. We've spent this journey breaking down 6 powerful habits you must stop if you want to succeed. And now it's time to bring everything together, to paint the big picture, to remind you why these changes matter and how they can completely transform your life. Let's quickly recap. Stop waiting for the perfect time, because the perfect time doesn't exist. Success belongs to those who start now, not those who wait forever. Stop pleasing everyone, because living for others will keep you trapped in a life that isn't yours. Stop comparing yourself to others, because comparison steals your joy and blinds you to your own unique journey. Stop fearing failure, because failure isn't the end. It's the fuel that powers real success. Stop multitasking, because focus is the superpower that separates greatness from mediocrity. Stop doubting yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. Now, why do these 6 stops matter so much? Because success isn't just about what you do. It's also about what you stop doing. It's about clearing the mental, emotional, and behavioral clutter that keeps you stuck. Think of it like this. You can have the best strategy in the world, but if you're still carrying the dead weight of doubt, fear, distraction, and comparison, you'll never be able to move forward with speed and power. Stopping these 6 behaviors isn't easy. They're deeply ingrained. Most people never break free from them, and that's why most people never succeed. But you're different. By even listening to this message, you're already separating yourself from the crowd. You're choosing awareness. You're choosing growth. Here's what happens when you commit to these principles. When you stop waiting for the perfect time and take action now, momentum builds. Small steps compound into massive change. When you stop pleasing everyone, you reclaim your energy and channel it into what truly matters to you. You stop being a background character in someone else's story and become the author of your own. When you stop comparing, you unlock peace. You measure success not by someone else's highlight reel, but by your own progress, and that makes you unstoppable. When you stop fearing failure, you start experimenting, innovating, and growing faster than ever before. You see setbacks as lessons, not defeats. When you stop multitasking and focus, your results multiply. You go from average output to mastery. People notice. Opportunities find you. And when you stop doubting yourself, you finally free yourself to play big. You stop waiting for permission, and you start living boldly. This is what transformation looks like. Success doesn't arrive in one big moment. It's built in the quiet, consistent decisions you make every day. And the decision to stop these 6 destructive habits could be the single most powerful shift you ever make. Now, let me leave you with a vision. Imagine yourself 1 year from now. You've stopped waiting and started taking action. You're no longer a prisoner to other people's approval. You're free from the poison of comparison. You face failure without fear. You attack each day with focus. And most importantly, you believe in yourself. Who would you become? How different would your life look? Think about the business you could build, the relationships you could nurture, the opportunities you could seize, the confidence you could radiate. That version of you is not a fantasy. It's real, and it's waiting. But here's the catch. It all depends on the choices you make right now. Will you keep falling into the traps that hold most people back? Or will you draw the line today and say, enough? I refuse to keep sabotaging my own success. I choose a new path. I choose growth. I choose action. The world doesn't need another person living in fear, doubt, and distraction. The world needs someone bold, someone focused, someone willing to take risks, someone willing to believe, and that someone is you. So here's my challenge. Starting today, commit to stopping these 6 things. Don't just nod your head and move on. Write them down. Repeat them to yourself. Hold yourself accountable. And most importantly, take action. Because success isn't waiting for you in the future. Success begins the moment you stop holding yourself back. And that moment is right now.